Alrighty. So we have all the speakers here. It's 11:02 Eastern Time. So welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm very excited for today's session as we have some great speakers and very interesting topics to talk about. As always, it is a pleasure for me to be part of these conversations about the crypto ecosystem. These days, I feel like conversations are happening all the time, and it is always important to just keep engaging with them. So it is very exciting to be sharing with the community all the things we're working on at Horizen. So I'll intro myself first. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Angie, and I'm part of the product team at Horizen Labs. So I've been in the crypto space for the last 8 years. So it's always this is something I always say. It's been a fun and crazy ride at the same time. I started initially as a team member of Horizen back in 2017, so way back, and certainly feels like ages ago. But then in 2019, I became part of the Horizen Labs team. So it's been a wonderful ride. So for today's topic, we will be focusing on New Horizen. So New Horizen, for those of you who might be new to the concept, is our recent software development that embraces a modular blockchain approach. So today I have here with me John and Jordan from the team that I would like for them to introduce themselves in a little bit. And they will be talking to us about why we have chosen a modular approach. And also we have a very special guest today, Fede, from Mode Network, who also will be sharing with us some of the ideas, some of the features, and why is it exciting, all the excitement and exciting things happening at Mode Network. So yeah, super excited for this session. And yeah, we can just I guess just kick it off here. So with that being said, I'll pass the word to Jordan. Welcome, Jordan.
Hey, it's great to be here, and I'm excited to get the word out about what we're doing with New Horizen. It's going to be a really interesting project, not only for Horizen Labs, but I really think that this is going to be one of the key themes to really help the industry bring costs down on the security side and open up new use cases as well. So.
That's amazing. Welcome, Jordan. And John, welcome as well. Please feel free to introduce yourself.
Hey, everybody. John Camardo here. I'll give you just a brief background. I did this last time, so I won't bore everybody with my background. But I joined Horizen Labs 3 years ago as a product manager. Prior to that, I was working in the commercial banking space, where I joined out of college and worked for about, I think, gosh, it might have been 7 years or so, doing a variety of work around data analytics, business analytics, and ultimately product management. During my time at Horizen Labs, I've worked on a variety of projects from, working on the Horizen blockchain, building products for the Horizen community, and also building products for other communities like ApeCoin, other deeds, and those kind of things. But really excited to talk today about New Horizen. I won't get into the new milestone that we're talking about in the title yet, because I think that's going to be my first question. But great to be here, and we'll pass it back to you, Angie.
Yeah, Angie, did you want me to do a little background information about myself too? Okay, yeah, sorry, I didn't understand when it was passed over to me. So yeah, I'm the VP of Business at Horizen Labs. I've been with Horizen Labs for about 2 years now. And my background also, like John, is in the traditional finance sector. So my last, I worked in a lot of different banks and hedge funds, but my last role was at UBS, where I worked on the risk side of things, and I was looking at existential risks to the bank, and that was what got me very interested in blockchain technology and crypto. Was just the fact that a lot of the large traditional finance institutions were just completely overlooking how blockchain can really change the global financial system. And I kept on pushing it in that role at UBS, and was just continually getting shut down. And I realized this is really something that I want to get involved in, and I want to really work to help spread this technology. And I found Horizen Labs, and it's really allowed me to really work towards that goal. And I think what we're going to be talking about later today is one step in that ability to bring the global financial system onto a blockchain and break down the barriers of all people to have access to safe yield and ways to grow their net worth and potentially change some power structures in the world too.
I love it. Thank you both for that introduction. And yeah, for the people that are just joining us, please remember we're going to be having this recording available as well, so you can listen to it fully afterwards. And yeah, I mean, let's deep dive right into the subject. I was mentioning at the beginning of this space about New Horizon, basically our most recent software development that's really approaching the modular um, intention and focus. So maybe before we deep dive into some of the questions and talk about these topics, I would like for Fede to introduce himself. Fede from Mode Network. I know, Fede, you're managing and leading the developer relations. So please, Fede, welcome and introduce yourself.
That's correct, Angie. I thought you've forgotten about me. I was
Absolutely
getting
not.
sad.
Absolutely not. No.
No, no worries. So hey everyone, my name is Fede. I'm head of DevRel, developer relationships at Mode. Mode is a DeFi layer 2 built with the OP stack, so we're optimistic rollups. And yeah, we're focused to be the DeFi hub there. I'm leading developer relations. And a little bit about my background. I've also worked at finance at JP Morgan. I used to be a software engineer there. So glad to see if more people that come from finance to the blockchain space. That's awesome, and I think it's kind of a trend. And also, Angie, I can tell you're an OG of crypto because you said crypto, right? I think a lot of new people just call it Web3. I
Yes.
still cannot take the crypto from my vocabulary. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It kind of just sticks to your head, It's like it's the old days. Even blockchain, like I think it's still, of course, a part of the terminology, but Web3, yeah, definitely Web3. Fede,
Yeah.
would you want to share with us some of your background? Since when are you in crypto, or maybe how you got into crypto, right?
Yeah, for sure. So I've been in crypto since like 2017. I started mainly with ICOs and all that craziness of investing in early projects. I've also worked for an exchange for a little while, scouting projects as well. And my intro to blockchain was I studied software engineering, and one of my professors that of a subject of cryptography. They were like auditors, and they're big on security. They gave a talk on Bitcoin and the like the new money, the classical Bitcoin talk for beginners, and what is money and how Bitcoin was created and what for. And after that, I just fell in love with it. Then I found out about Ethereum, and I was like, what we can compute globally. Like there's all of these interconnected computers computing a ledger together, and we can send money and actually run code here. This is insane. And yeah, that's where it all started. And since then, I've been around for quite a while. So yeah.
That's amazing. I love it. Thank you so much for that background. I think there's always a before and after for everyone here. Whenever you enter the Web3 space, it's always like, oh, this used to be the old me, and now it's just like a completely different thing, right? We always just fell in love with either the concept of cryptocurrency and the technology, or whatever the focus or area that you might be interested in. There's always a before and after. At least that's the case for me. So no, this is wonderful. So all right, let's start with our session. Or let's better said, continue with our session. I would like for John maybe to maybe talk a little bit about what is New Horizon for the new folks joining to this call, and then we can maybe deep dive into the questions.
Yeah, thanks, Angie. I guess, yeah, as a quick recap for those who maybe didn't join the last space or haven't been scouring our website for information, New Horizon is really just represents kind of a pivot toward the modular space and really trying to break out further the settlement component of the modular blockchain stack, and specifically focuses on proof verification, which is a core requirement of ZK rollups. They need to submit proofs to Ethereum attesting to the fact that the transactions that happened on the ZK rollups are actually valid. This is a cost intensive process currently. And so we specifically at Horizen are trying to solve that problem of this very costly process by incorporating proof verifiers in our updated main chain, which is built on Substrate. And we have these kind of native verifiers now that can accept these proofs, verify them incredibly cheaply, and then post data back to Ethereum so that the rollups can actually understand that their transactions and the proofs with those transactions have been verified by our chain. So at the highest level, that's kind of what we're working on. It's a new blockchain that specifically focuses and specializes in proof verification. And yeah, that's kind of the overview.
Awesome. Thank you so much, John, for that. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about the newest and most recent milestone that we accomplished with New Horizon. This is fresh out of the oven. It's like literally news we've been very excited about this whole week. So basically, can you tell us a little bit more about what this milestone is and what's the significance of hitting this in just a few weeks, John? So please feel free to share.
Yeah, definitely. So for those who have been kind of looking at Horizen.io or the roadmaps page on that website, or even docs.horizen.io, where we have all of our developer documentation, you may have noticed that there's a lot of updated information about New Horizon, and that's because as of late last week, New Horizon is officially on testnet. So congratulations to all the team that worked on that. It's a pretty major milestone for us, primarily because we've gone from idea to testnet very, very, very quickly and rapidly. And it sort of planted a flag in the ground saying Horizen is the modular proof verification layer. And so hopefully everyone recognizes that we've kind of claimed that spot. And I guess the other major significant thing here is that essentially we've gone from, like I said, idea to testnet in a very short period of time. And this represents a pretty significant departure from what we've done in the past, which are very lengthy development processes and getting, I think, into market a little later than we would have liked, which has certainly been sort of a negative on the product market fit that we've been trying to achieve, and that we haven't really been able to achieve it because others have come out with solutions that better meet the needs of the crypto and Web3 users before we do. So can talk a little bit more about that later, but that's kind of the news, and really excited to be the one that can verbally tell everybody that.
That's amazing. So I'd like to pass the word to Jordan, and before we let Fede like really deep dive into dive into Mode Network. But Jordan, from a business standpoint, how do you see the CK rollups or basically rollups as a service providers like unlocking value from Horizon's proof verification chain?
Yeah, thanks, Angie. So I think it's pretty straightforward actually, in the sense that when you're running a ZK rollup, part of your expenses are paying for the proof verification that happens on chain on Ethereum. Every year, ZK rollups at this point are spending $50 million plus on this. And when you look at the landscape of rollups, we're only at the very, very beginning when it comes to ZK rollups. I think with rare exception, almost everybody in the industry believes that, you know, ZK rollups are going to be the technological future for scaling Ethereum. And as that happens, you're going to see a massive proliferation of ZK rollups as well as ZK apps, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And that cost of proof verification on Ethereum is only going to skyrocket. What we have done with building New Horizen is massively decrease the cost of that proof verification by adding in a modular stack and a modular blockchain that can provide that. According to our initial estimates, looking at this, we can drop prices on that by 90%. So it's a huge savings for groups that are looking to build ZK rollups or the RAS providers that help them build ZK rollups. And what does that mean from a practical standpoint? That means that one, the existing groups that are building ZK rollups now have to spend less of their money on and less of their resources on proof verification transactions, and they can spend more on building out their ecosystem, rewarding users, rewarding developers, etc. And then two, for use cases that are using ZK proofs right now that at this point are too expensive, this is helping kind of decrease those costs so that in the future it'll open up new use cases that don't exist right now that we'll see start proliferating as these costs come down. And that is especially important on the ZK app side, which we can talk about also.
Perfect. Fede, so this is let's say a question, but also an intro on your side. I would like for you to tell us a bit more about Mode Network. I know there could be people here or folks joining us that may not be very familiar with what Mode Network is. So please just, explain to us a little bit about what this is about.
For sure. So as I mentioned before, Mode is the DeFi layer 2 built with the OP stack, which is basically a series of technologies that lets everyone run their own layer 2, right? This means that we use optimistic rollups. Here we mentioned Seike zero knowledge, which some other chains are using zero knowledge rollups. So we use optimistic rollups. They're like two different systems for layer 2s, right? And with optimistic rollups, there also comes fault proofs, which was recently deployed to testnet by the Optimism team. And yeah, that's basically it. We have a really nice DeFi ecosystem, and we're focusing mainly on that, on creating a really healthy and a place where a lot of opportunities for DeFi and new primitives occur as well.
I like it, love it. So, Fede, would you maybe tell us on a high level some of the advantages of the modular tech that you guys are implemented with the optimistic rollups, or just explain maybe your favorite features or how you see that from a dev standpoint, please?
For sure. And I'm gonna take a step back here, or maybe to the side. So what I love about technology in general, and what I like doing, is just dumping it down, like bringing to the simplest level that we can, and go back to the why we're doing all of this and why we say modular, right? Whenever we hear modular now in Web3, we get excited. We think it's something really good, but like, why is modularity good, and what does modularity in general bring us? So I like to see it and think of it as and please, John and Jordan, if you want to chip in later on this, I would love to hear your point of view on modularity in general. But like, why we aim for modularity is because it gives us a lot more options, and it gives us a lot more combinations of things, and it lets us scale much more, right? So before, we could say, for example, monolithic blockchains, which is basically a really complex word for just one blockchain that does everything. So for example, Bitcoin, Ethereum, we've always heard this problem of the blockchain trilemma and not being able to scale. So with modularity, what we're doing is basically, okay, this section of blockchain, which we call the execution layer, we're going to run it in this specific blockchain. And this other technology, blockchain, whatever, is going to be the consensus layer. And this other one is going to be the settlement layer. So this is modularity. It's like creating all of these smaller modules. That's why it's called modularity, right? That interconnect with each other as you need to. So this allows you to basically create systems that don't have to have everything at the start, and you can just use what you need as you scale and you grow, right? So you could think that layer twos are modular, or well, they kind of are, because they utilize, for example, a consensus and data availability layer. So Mode right now is using the OP stack, which is a series of technologies that lets you use Ethereum as a settlement layer. So we have at Mode, which is optimistic rollups, we have the sequencer, which takes all the transactions and then creates a bundle and sends like a small well, now with blobs, we have a whole new different system, but that's another thing. So whenever you send a transaction on layer 2, the sequencer picks it up, bundles it, and puts it in the layer 1, right? To save the state. So the layer 2 is utilizing the layer 1, and that's what we kind of can consider modular. So for modularity in general, and why I think it's great that we are moving towards a modular space, it's like Legos, right? We are building the bricks, the little parts that are useful on their own. They may not be useful, but once you start combining other modules, then it becomes this scalable and really adaptable system that we can call blockchain in general, right? But it depends on how you see it and on a high level.
I love it, Fede. I think that's super accurate what you just mentioned. We've been like over the years talking about, oh, why is it blockchain so expensive? Why is it so costly? Why is it maybe so slow? So like think from my perspective, modularity really allows for just fast deployment in of any new blockchains or chains, right? Having like custom logic, configurability, and so on and so forth. So before we get into like more technical details, I would just like to encourage everyone here to leave any comments or questions here on the comment section. So please, if the community has any questions or anything like that, at the end we'll be taking these questions. So please feel free to drop them and leave them there. So I'll like to pass it to John and maybe talk a little bit about the interesting features about our proof verification chain, in particular, the attestation mechanism, because it's also one of the words we have been hearing a lot in this space recently.
Yeah, thanks, Angie. And just to respond to the modularity thing really quickly, I think one of the big things is really that I kind of view this like modular movement as like a move towards specialization, right? Like generalist things or like, you know, general purpose blockchains like Ethereum, for example, obviously can't do everything like as well as somebody or a blockchain who might specialize on one particular thing and highly optimized for that. So just to kind of close the loop on that, I do think specialization is really like ultimately kind of what we're talking about here. Now to go on to New Horizon and what we specialize in, again, this is proof verification chain. So like the primary features are really just to verify proofs. So ingest them from ZK rollups or ZK applications that might produce them, and then verify them in a highly optimized and super cheap way, and then post that the confirmation of the verification. I always find myself wanting to use verification of verification. The confirmation that the proof has been verified back to Ethereum. So that's really where this attestation piece comes in that Angie just mentioned. And right now we've kind of prototyped this out in a relatively simple way, which is that, you know, a couple of entities on the New Horizon side are kind of signing a message that says this proof has been verified and posting that data to Ethereum so that the rollup can simply look up data as opposed to call a smart contract for proof verification. The difference in gas costs is quite significant, and that's where that 90% cost savings that Jordan mentioned before comes into play. But those are really like the two primary features right now that we're working on for New Horizen. The verifier that we're working with right now is a Flonk verifier. That's kind of the name of the proving system that comes with the Polygon CDK, and the Polygon CDK is the chain development kit that we use to build a rollup that's also on testnet that you can kind of go in and look and see transactions being generated and then bundled into batches and proven and then posted to our proof verification layer for verification. Subsequent milestones will involve other proving systems and proof verifiers. But for now, those are kind of like the two primary features and what we've included in this first delivery.
Thank you, John. Now, focusing a little bit about, because this was, I think, a great explanation on the tech side and the tech piece, but focusing on from a business perspective, right? Like it's always the case on how we translate any technical development, any technical features to the business side of things. So this is for Jordan. Jordan, how did you see this, or how can you speak to the key customer segments here?
Yeah, sure. So, as I thought, Fede gave a really good explanation of what modularity is and, how it works. I'd say that, if you kind of zoom out, ultimately, blockchain is a technology to allow people to do certain things, right? Whether it's, transacting cryptocurrencies, eventually you're going to see more real world assets come on chain. People are going to do their regular financial activities on it. You're going to see people use NFTs in interesting ways, either as they have been through kind of PFP communities, but also in the future with ticket gating, things like that. Basically, the way to think about all of this is, us along with lots and lots of other groups are all working together to create modules that will bring down the cost of doing anything on a blockchain. And that will in turn lead to adoption of blockchains and allow blockchain technology to improve everyday life, right? So when we're talking about future customers of New Horizen, when we're talking about the end customer segment, it's literally anything that is going to use a blockchain. It could be an application that allows people in developing countries to invest in yield generating real world assets. It could be sporting teams turning in their ticketing system into a cool new NFT thing that has a better, deeper experience for their customers, right? But when it comes to who our direct customers are, our direct customers are going to be the ZK rollups and the rollup as a service providers and the ZK app developers that use zero knowledge proof. So, as John was mentioning, our expertise and specialty that we're building this chain around is proof verification. But basically, there are different segments within zero knowledge proofs, and that's only one of them, right? So you have kind of the groups that are making these mathematical proving systems themselves, which are mostly filled with PhD cryptographers and things like that. Then there's proof generation, and a lot of people are working on improved hardware to make proof generation itself more efficient and cheaper. And then people are working on new systems that will aggregate proofs together so that each individual proof that's generated ends up being cheaper when it actually does its final settlement on Ethereum. And what we're doing is focusing on the verification of those proofs, either the direct proofs that are generated or the aggregated proofs that are generated. So, to me, the key groups that, might come to mind that would be using it is, when it comes to the tech stacks, you're talking, we're starting off with Polygon to begin with, the Polygon CDK system. We are in talks with other groups in the industry to work on bringing them in as well. Like the most well-known ZK systems are, ZK Sync, which is Matter Labs, Starkware. Linea by consensus. Then there's some smaller ones like Scroll or Tycho that are also doing this. And then on the application side, there's a lot of applications that are using zero knowledge cryptography as well, especially when it comes to things like privacy too. So those are kind of the segments that we're going to be targeting to begin with. But ultimately, it's a industry collaboration effort to bring down costs and increase efficiency and scalability of blockchains so that more people can use this great technology to improve lives around the world.
Thanks, Jordan. Fede, I would like for you to tell us a little bit more about how's Mode Network approaching scalability and security. So do you, for example, do you foresee a pivot from an optimistic framework to CK? Is that something that, I don't know, would you be in favor of? Like, I would like to hear your thoughts on the matter.
Yeah, of course. I think right now in the whole Web3 ecosystem, there's like, look, depends on who you ask, right? Like there's this like there's a rivalry, sorry, between optimistic rollups and like Seike rollups, which I don't really understand because I see everything that we're doing, a lot of the things that we're doing as experimental and trying to find the best solutions, right? I don't think neither of them have the right answer. I think both need to explore where we can get and what we can achieve with all of this. And I'm happy to listen to John and Jordan here, both saying different things, but that complement each other and end up in the same objective. And that is that John mentioned that we're building that the future is going to be more specific, right? Like we mentioned app chains as well. So we think we're going to see more specific chains for a specific role. And Jordan mentioned that modularity also lets you build whatever you want. And that's what we're doing here, right? With modularity, we're building these modules to let other people and empower them to build exactly what they need and be more specific about it. And I love that. So in the case of Mode, we're basically aiming right now to be the DeFi hub for the Optimism superchain, which is going to be like an ecosystem of different chains, very focused and interconnected between each other. So as per Mode, pivoting, so for scalability and security, let me tell you one really good thing about working with Optimism and using the OP stack. And I loved the concept CDK of a chain developer kit. I love that. So working with OP, the good thing is that they are focusing on building the infrastructure and this OP stack that lets us leverage that and lets us focus on our product. So Mode is, I wouldn't call it an app chain. We're focused on DeFi, so we have a lot of things happening. And of course, we're going to have NFTs and other things, but we are very focused on our product, and we're very, very focused on the narrative and the whole thing and ecosystem that we're building, right? And that's we can do that because Optimism is focusing on the security scalability of the OP rollups. And I think you guys are doing an amazing job on that, especially for Seike, because there's still a lot of things that are not solved on the Seike rollup side, as well as on Optimism. So I think that's a really smart thing to do. And all of us are working towards enabling people to create better products for the end user at the end. And for your second question on if I see a pivot from optimistic to Seike, I don't really think so, because we're fully aligned with Optimism, and we think optimistic rollups are the way to go, and we want to see where this leads. But then let me say that I do see Mode using Seike, like zero knowledge in general, in a few things, right? And with modularity and why I'm so happy with the things that are happening is that, for example, right now we have layer threes, which some people may think it's a joke, but it's not. It's with the layer threes that we have right now is with utilizing Celestia as the DA, right? And mode as the settlement layer. Why I want to say this is that we're starting to see things that we couldn't even imagine before, and this modularity is actually leading us to new things that we didn't really know could happen, right? So we have our layer 2 that settles to Ethereum. That's optimistic rollups, but I do see a future where we can use zero knowledge in different products or different modules around mode, for example. So yeah.
I mean, those were great answers, Fede, and I totally agree. I mean, just kind of like to summarize a little bit what we're talking about. We've been enhancing why is this modular approach better from a scalability standpoint, from a security perspective. I mean, I think it's also valuable to mention about upgradability, right? And some of the benefits that we can have with a modular approach. Basically, upgradability, or the way that I like to see it, maybe also the way that I understand it, because I'm not quite technical. It's basically just to have the logic of the chain that can be easily distributed and run by the validators, right? I think when it comes to that, it's a great advantage because you don't have to be dealing with this like node upgrades in the system that could be affecting the consensus rules, or at least that's the way that I like to think about it. I think this approach enables like faster distribution of the new code on chain, right? And then I think it's way easier to deal with new client versions, new upgrades, and especially hard forks. I've had the pleasure of working with the engineering team, with the infra team, with the product team through my career, and it's always a challenge, right, to go over like all these upgrades and better and improved versions of the software. So I think this is also one of the major advantages from a modular and say perspective. So just wanted to highlight that. I have a question for Jordan, because we've been talking about this in the let's say, or we've been going around the zero knowledge cryptography space. How do you see, Jordan, for example, in the long run? This is going to be for Horizen's proof verification. Like, do you think this is maybe going to be widely adopted? And I know we've already been mentioning that, but is there anything else that we should highlight there?
Yeah, I mean, I think the interesting thing in the long run, when we think about how proof verification will work with what I talked about, proof aggregation, proof generation, and the proving systems themselves, is that the way to kind of think about the different groups doing different things in this space is it's very collaborative and not competitive, right? Each group is kind of working together to improve things, as opposed to trying to cut others out and things like that, which is, I think, one of the most wonderful things about this industry in general. But it also leads to, I think, quicker breakthroughs and things that are more holistically thinking about the end customers too. So with proof verification, I think that what we will see is beyond what we're doing initially, which is bringing on proof verification systems onto this new Horizen blockchain that we're building. I think we're going to start seeing the next generation of proving systems start working together to balance the compute power that is going to be used for verification with the compute power that is used for generation to make the entire system more efficient, right? Because when a lot of these ZK rollups were originally developed, they were developed to put a lot of the compute power necessary to do the mathematical operations on the generation side and less on the verification side, because the compute power of the verification side was, by definition, going to be on Ethereum and quite expensive. I think with our modular solution, that's going to open up groups to kind of rethink that and rethink the balance there, which will, one, lower overall costs for any sort of ZK operations, and two, will actually probably lead to faster and more efficient ZK proof generation as well too, because it's going to create a better balance between the two. So that's something that I'm thinking, in the long run. But I think in the short run, we're focused on basically working together with the groups that have built out these proving systems and the ZK rollup technology companies to get the verification side off of Ethereum and onto New Horizen, so that we can make the current systems more efficient. But I think there's a lot there in the long run. And to Fede's point, I think without a doubt right now, optimistic rollups are easier for people to start building on. But even groups like Optimism are starting to look at how they can institute zero knowledge cryptography in the future. Like they have an RFP out there around that right now. So I think that what you're going to see is these breakthroughs of us working together with these other groups are going to make the costs of zero knowledge and the efficiency of zero knowledge competitive with optimistic rollups. And then you're just going to see a natural move over, even from the big players, whether it's Optimism or Arbitrum, etc. And that's just kind of how technology works, right? A technology can be the leading technology, and then new technology comes that's better, and it becomes obsolete, and it moves on to the next one. So I think we're working on that next generation is my thought.
You're absolutely right. That was actually going to be my next question for Fede, Jordan. Like, how can we improve? And this is exactly what you mentioned, right? Like this cross collaboration between Optimistic and CK. Fede, would you like to give us, your couple of thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't think I'm qualified to tell the industry how we can improve, but I can say a few things on things that I've seen. And I love that Jordan has such a nice view on like technology and how it works with engineering as well. That we will always replace some technologies with others until we find like the most optimal one, of course. So to keep it short, I think that for the future we're gonna see. So for the future, things that like for example Horizen is doing right now with what you guys are doing with New Horizen, right? You're gonna start enabling Seike much more, make it cheaper and easier to use, right? And we're gonna start seeing a lot of other teams helping in these different areas that in the past were maybe too complex to solve, too expensive to actually do or create a product for it. And I agree. Right now, optimistic rollups are really easy to start. They kind of work. They have their issues with the centralized sequencers, but Optimism is working on that. And we still don't know which places we're going to use optimistic rollups or Seike rollups. I think we're still exploring on that front. And for collaboration or like how we can work together, I think the ZEN upgrade, if you guys haven't heard of it, it was an upgrade done on Ethereum, which basically introduced blobs, and it allows for lower fees on layer 2s. But it's not only for optimistic rollups on layer 2s or zero knowledge. Both of them benefit from this improvement, right? From this ZEN upgrade. And I think that's the way to go. And that's how we collaborate, right? If we are seeing that there's a lot of layer 2s, some optimistic, some zero knowledge, and we could find an improvement on Ethereum, which both settle on, right? We should do that and allow for both sides to progress and to actually create this innovation that we all benefit from. Because in the end, if optimistic rollups are cheaper for a rollup, but then zero knowledge is used in other things, we all win. That's it. So yeah, that's why I'm really happy to be here, even though you guys are doing zero knowledge and we are focused on optimistic rollups, because this is how we grow. I think discussing these things and talking about what we're doing, why we're doing it, and the problems that we're trying to solve. I think this is how we grow as an industry.
Yeah, I second that, and I think in it also makes the game fun, right? In a way, it's like it's about an idea, putting it to the test, implement it, right, and going to production or deploying the idea if it seems to be working. Like it's really a lot about what blockchain is about, and like at this core, right? Let's say, hey, this is something that could work. Let's test it out, see if it works, and if it does, then we go to production. So I think it also makes it things like way more interesting. Speaking about this specific topic on like deployments and just like rapid development of software. So the Horizen team is delivering products to market at a much quicker pace. This is something that I think it's absolutely the case. So I would like to ask to John, what do you think this is the reason for, or what led to this increase in speed and focus?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it really involves a lot of introspection. So kind of looking internally at our own processes, and adapting to a lot of the feedback that we've heard from community members, from a variety of folks. So it's really like trying to figure out, how we can get better and how we can not miss, like take too long to develop things and then miss an opportunity, as I think we have a couple of times in the past. So ultimately, we're making changes to some of our internal processes, allowing developers to deploy their own code and as opposed to having to hand it off. Increasing the sense of urgency around deliveries so that like we're kind of avoiding doing things that are not fully aligned to this New Horizon concept. And yeah, that's I mean really it. It's really just been a matter of kind of listening to feedback, looking at our processes, adapting them, and then the final thing is really just being laser focused on this one particular opportunity as opposed to 5 or 10 different opportunities. It really goes to the point that I made earlier about specialization. Like we're specializing in this now and not trying to do a little bit of everything.
Correct. Fede, aside from Horizon and Mode Network, are there any other interesting modular projects that you are excited about? And maybe you can, I don't know, just give us your thoughts on that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, there's also a lot of projects that are maybe not marketed as modular, but they are kind of modular, so that's a fun thing. But I would say Celestia. We're working with them right now. We're working with Conduit as well, and it's super easy to deploy a layer 3 on Mode. So it's basically deploying your own chain that settles on Celestia and settles on Mode and uses Celestia for data availability. They are huge in the space, and we're actually gonna be participating in a hackathon with them. So that's like my number one right now, and I want to see what builders come up with and see the cool projects that they use. And I think that the Celestia team has been delivering great things and super fast as well, and I think they're on the right track on the things that they're doing. So yeah, I would say that Celestia. I love them.
Great. Jordan, do you have, I know you mentioned a few of them at the beginning, but do you have maybe one or two that you're excited about?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, within the modular space, obviously the execution layers are pretty developed now, and it's pretty clear that there's some real leaders like you're seeing, especially with ZK Sync and Linea on the ZK side. You're starting to see some real transaction volume and things like that. In terms of data availability, I also agree, Celestia is doing some great work, but there's also other groups there that are also doing some really interesting stuff. You got, Avail, which was spun out of Polygon. You have Near as well. And then, I think, what we're doing is kind of pulling out a new module from the settlement side of things. And right now, there's not very much competition on that, but I do think that we're going to start seeing more as things go. I think that we have this great, head start, and I think that's going to lead to great success with New Horizon. But like everybody else who's a crypto enthusiast, I'm looking forward to more groups entering this space and pushing it forward, because the faster that we can have better modules, more efficient, scalable blockchains that are cheaper, the faster this technology starts going out into the world, and that'll lead to massive success for all of us who are in this industry. So again, I just wanted to highlight how much I am enthused by the collaboration mentality in this industry, as opposed to the competitive nature that you see in Web 2 and most other industries in the world. Like, if we all continue to work together, we're going to have a lot more opportunities as a whole. So and so far it seems to be going that way. So I really like that.
Me too. John, do you have a favorite, or let's say top two? Because I know, of course, your favorite is New Horizon, but would you say that you have maybe one or two that you're excited about?
I'm just going to go with New Horizon. I'm honestly not going to add any other projects to the mix here that haven't already been mentioned. So I think in the interest of not being repetitive, I'll say New Horizon, the Web3 and crypto's proof verification layer.
I love it. I really love it. So we're coming to the end of this session. I think this has been incredibly entertaining, useful, and informational for various folks that have been joining us, and some of you members of the Horizon community and Mode Network community. You maybe were already aware of New Horizon and the latest developments, but if there's anyone here that's new and wants to get involved, you know where everyone is in the crypto space. It's Discord, Telegram. There's a ton of information out there. Check out the documentation, mode.network, that's their website, and horizon.io as well. So right now I'm like doing this CTAs for everyone. So just get involved, ask questions. There's always people from the community sharing their views, their thoughts. So I would encourage everyone to just keep doing that, keep the conversations happening. John, any final thoughts before we wrap up here?
Just a couple. I mean, I'll just say, I mean, I appreciate being part of the conversation. It's a really exciting time, and thanks everybody for joining. I would encourage everybody to take a look at the updated documentation that kind of details a lot of how New Horizon blockchain proof verification chain has been built. I put a lot of time into that, so would love for people to kind of take a look at that, read it, understand it, ask questions. And really excited to have been able to announce the first milestone, but already starting to look toward the second milestone, which will, I don't think we talked about it, but it will be focused primarily on expanding access. So expanding the number of people who can actually access the testnet, and expand what they can do with the testnet. And we will be implementing a new verifier into the blockchain as well, which will also expand the reach that this New Horizon proof verification chain can have. So keep a lookout for that. I would anticipate it within the next month or month and a half, maybe 2 months, to be on testnet. So that's it for me. Great to be here, and thanks everybody.
Thanks, John. And for those of you listening, the new documentation John was mentioning, that's docs.horizon.io. So it's just for you to check it out right away. Jordan, any final thoughts?
Yeah, just basically, we are really moving fast with this, and it is a really complex area of the industry because it's highly technical. So, doing these and getting out there and explaining how this is actually going to really make a difference to the actual practical end user is important. And, this was a great forum to do it. But, I'm excited to kind of keep pushing forward on that and discuss it, more as we continue to develop and get everybody familiar with these terms of proof verification and zero knowledge and everything like that. Beyond that too, I'd love to have another one at some point to with Fede to talk more about what Mode's doing with user and developer incentives on chain, because I think it's pretty unique, and I think that would be a cool future space for us to discuss as well. So anyways, thanks, Angie. It's been a really great spaces.
I love it, and absolutely, let's do it. Let's keep having these conversations. There's one question from the community that I'm seeing here, and this is not related to New Horizon, but maybe Jordan, you would like to answer this one. It says what this means for ApeChain, and is there a ETA for ApeChain? So it's unrelated, but if you want to just share a little bit about it.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, just an update with ApeChain. We are currently in talks with, along with the special counsel of ApeDAO, on choosing a roll-up as a service provider. Once that's done, the building already is going to commence basically, and there's work also being done on creating Ape into an OFT with Layer 0, which would allow it to be more broadly available in other DeFi ecosystems as well. So I would say that we don't have any hard dates yet, but this is not a year-long process. We're looking within the next quarter or so to potentially get to a launch, and there's a ton of work being done. You're gonna start there's negotiations with initial game developers, where there's going to be stuff coming out in the future around bounties for infrastructure on there. There's going to probably be a future AIP around funding for both publishers and independent developers. And there's going to definitely be a lot of stuff when it comes to user incentives. And, like I said, in the collaborative nature of this industry, we are definitely looking at some of the things that, Mode is doing and trying to bring in some of those great cutting edge ideas on user incentives and developer incentives onto ApeChain as well. So all that being said, no specific details at this spaces, but stay tuned because there is a lot going on behind the scenes, and it's going to be really, really exciting. So we're looking forward when the time comes to start revealing all that as well. So
exciting times. I have so much FOMO. Fede, any last words?
Yep, just thank you so much for inviting me here. It was a super interesting talk and really informative as well. And happy to hop on any Twitter spaces in the future with you guys. That the Horizen team has been super welcoming, super loving. You guys keep building, keep shipping, like the most Web3 spirit around. So I love that. And yeah, just happy to chat with you guys, and thanks for inviting me.
Awesome. To the community members, to everybody here that joined, thank you so much for listening in. I think this was a great session. We'll see each other around. Have a great rest of your day. And again, thank you so much for joining today's session. See you around. Have a great one.
thanks, everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye.